Reddit stories. r/confession. I made my class monitor's things disappear when I was 11. No one knew. She changed after that. I don't know if I went too far. When I was 11, there was a girl in my class who had been appointed the class monitor. She was mean to everyone, especially me and my friends. She shouted at us, treated us like we were stupid, and constantly showed off the things her parents bought her: fancy pens, notebooks, pencil cases, bags. She also mocked the stuff I had. My family couldn't afford expensive school supplies, and I remember feeling small and humiliated. One day, I saw her leave a brand new pen on her desk. I took it and threw it in the bin of a different classroom. She searched for it the next day and questioned everyone. We all denied knowing anything. A few days later, I went through her bag during recess and found a fancy notebook. I took it to the main school dumpster and threw it away. She never found it. Again, she asked around. Again, we denied it. She reported to a teacher, and we were searched. Still nothing. I kept doing this every week. Small things, one at a time. Her pens, her notebooks, her pouches, they'd just vanish. Eventually, she became paranoid. She stopped leaving her bag unattended. She refused to go out during recess. She became quieter. Then she quit being the class monitor. She stopped being mean to people. And I stopped too. Life just went on after that. We were not in the same class anymore the next year, and I never really interacted with her. At the time, I didn't regret it. I was angry and hurt by the way she treated me and others. I felt like I had no other power. Eventually, I forgot all about it. Until recently. I found my old yearbook and saw her face, and all the memories came flooding back. Now I'm not sure how to feel. What I did was cruel, calculated even, but it came from a place of deep hurt. No one ever knew what I did. Not then, not now. I heard she's married with kids now. Seems happy. I don't wish her anything bad. I just wonder, did I go too far? Edit. A lot of people have asked what she actually did to me back then. So here it is. It wasn't just her doing her job as a class monitor. She shouted at me almost daily, pushed me around, and laughed at me for being too thin, for having short hair and called me a boy, and for having dark skin. She mocked the way I walked and the way I talked, and made fun of me in front of others when I got answers wrong in class. We were both Muslims, but because I didn't wear a headscarf, she made fun of me for being a bad Muslim. She had friends who joined in, spreading rumors about me and a few other kids. They told people I didn't bathe, and that I was dirty. This went on for months. I never told my mom because I knew she'd come to the school, and I was terrified things would get worse. I was already being pushed around, and I feared it could turn physical if I spoke up. It wasn't about her fancy things. I didn't care about them. I cared about the fact that I was humiliated and made to feel small every day. At 11, I didn't have the words or the support to handle it any other way. Still, I know what I did was wrong. Comment 1. LOL, no, you were literally 11. I don't think this is her villain origin story. OP reply. Thinking back, before I did those things, she was actively involved in clubs and activities. Everyone knew here. After those things happened, she withdrew and was never involved in anything. She kept to herself. I never heard anything about her until end of school. Comment 2. She probably got in trouble at home. Her parents may have thought she was being irresponsible and was losing her stuff. Just because she had nice things and bragged doesn't mean there weren't issues at home. That's the vibe I'm getting for how much she withdrew. If I found out my kids did anything like that, we would be donating toys and replacing what was stolen. OP reply. That's a fair point, and I understand where you're coming from. But to be honest, I never really envied what she had. It wasn't about her things. It was the way she treated me and others. Shouting, mocking, making us feel small. That's what hurt. At the time, I just wanted it to stop. Still, you're right. I never thought about what might have been going on at home. It's something I'm only starting to reflect on now. Comment 3. Oftentimes those kids are just extending the abuse they receive at home or emulating behavior they've seen there. Maybe your act caused her to reflect on how she was passing those behaviors on. Comment 4. Doubtful at 11 she reflected on it. But saying you just wanted it to stop is disingenuous too. You were being malicious and vengeful in going through her things and stealing them. You likely felt satisfied when she came up with nothing after questioning everyone. But you were 11 too. If she allowed the paranoia to persist throughout her life, never tempering it with empirical evidence after it ended, then that's on her. And if you have become steeped in vengeance and immoral behavior, justify it with what happened when you were 11, then that's on you. Neither seems to be the case. So chalk it up to childish inexperience, say a prayer for her, and move on. Comment 5. I would certainly argue that 11 is old enough to reflect on those kinds of behavior. In fact, when I was 11, I had a bit of an identity crisis because of something similar. See, I had a stepdad at the time that was regularly putting me down and ultimately kind of bullying me. He was a piece of shit, very unhealthy man with a fragile ego that I regularly challenged. And considering I was 11, that shows how fragile his ego really was. Still, I went through a few years of being put down and having jokes made at my expense while being told that he loved me and that's how he shows love. So I totally started emulating that behavior. I didn't see it as bullying. I saw it as good-natured ribbing. People didn't really push back because I was pretty big for my age, so I don't think I really realized I was actually hurting their feelings. I don't remember what made it click, but I eventually, after the stepdad was out of the picture, picked up on the fact that this was pushing people away, losing me friends, and actually hurting people around me. It really effed me up for a week or two. I made some apologies, and it became a core memory that shaped my behavior for years moving forward. It wasn't someone telling me. It wasn't my parents explaining or some outside observer filling me in that I was being an asshole. It just kind of clicked for no specific reason I remember. Don't underestimate 11-year-olds. They're at the very beginning steps of navigating adult life and relationships, and their tiny, stupid brains are absolutely functional enough to pick up on shit like that sometimes. Comment 8. Maybe that's the right parenting decision for you, but when I was a child in school, I had a similar situation like this happen, and when I went to my parents and the teachers, they did nothing about it because such and such was such a good boy. He would never do anything mean to other children. Sometimes kids have to take things into their own hands because their parents are oblivious to the evilness of children. It was really at that point in my life that I realized that most grown-ups were adults. They were just larger children. Comment 9. Sadly, often, no one does think about the kids' lives outside of school. OFC, other kids don't care, but I'm talking about the teachers in my case. I was treated like a delinquent for not doing my homework, and obviously acting out in small ways, like writing the F word on a wall once. I grew up with an alcoholic father, hoarder mother, and my 7 other siblings, then got spoken down to and treated less than by adults that are at least 30 plus Y/O, and supposed to be an authority figure. I did start going to an alternative school, which helped a lot. Just a class of 15 other kids that can't learn in traditional environments for whatever reason. IMO, there are very few bad kids. It's mostly unstable adults that create more unstable adults. And yes, I'm including teachers that shouldn't be teaching in that statement, as well as bad parents. Comment 10. Look, sometimes someone has to bully the bully to put them back in their place. If you hadn't stepped in W, the little petty theft mind games, she just would have continued being a bully, target by target. You were a child that already felt beat down emotionally. Standing up to her physically wasn't in the cards for you. Instead, you fought emotional warfare with emotional warfare. That is a fair game. So if you really think about it, your childish mindset for payback probably helped what would have been her future victims. Comment 11. You just saved more people from getting bullied. It wasn't right, but it wasn't wrong either. OP reply. It's strange how things turned out. I never meant to change her, just wanted the bullying to stop. At 11, it felt like the only power I had. I still don't know if what I did was fair, but I do know it came from a place of pain. Thank you for seeing both sides. Comment 12. Hurt kids usually end up hurting others, especially if the emotional damage isn't shared with a safe person and dealt with. She was mean to you and others, so you were mean back. You were 11. She stopped being mean to people, and you stopped being mean to her. What would you say to an 11-year-old now that's going through this? OP reply. That's a really good point. If I could talk to my 11-year-old self, I would say that these mean words are nothing. You are more than this. Reply to OP. I disagree with this. Mean words do have an effect on people, sometimes more than physical actions. No one taught her to not be mean to other people, except for you. It sucks. It sucks that you were put in that position. It sucks for her that she thought that behavior was okay, and no one told her otherwise. Your actions stopped when she stopped being a bully, and you never heard of her acting the same way again. You made her change in a very drastic way. In my opinion, if the change continued through her life, her kids can probably thank you for having a nice mom.